All right, everyone. It is currently 1:04, about to be 1:05. So I am going to get this webinar started. This is our December 16th webinar on the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. Just kind of an informational webinar to give you some background about what the awards are, some benefits of participating. And then we will answer any questions you have. Presentation should take about 30 minutes. And then after that, we'll take as much time for questions as needed. So let's get things rolling. First, here's a look at today's agenda, everything that we are going to cover. I'll do some quick introductions, give you a look at our awardees from the 2021 awards, talk about some of the benefits of participating. My colleague, Nick Antaki, is going to give a quick discussion about the Employing US VETS Conference. And we'll also talk about our Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service, which is very much tied into the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. I'll give you all a quick rundown on some of the items that are new and different this year as compared to last year. Give everyone some shortcuts, tips, advice, and then, of course, answer all of your questions. If you all have any questions already, something that you had in mind and would like an answer to, please just enter them in the chat right now. My plan is to run through this presentation. Should take about half an hour, and then go through and answer all the questions in chat. So just as they occur to you, feel free to type them into chat and I will answer them. And so with that, let's get started with the introductions. So I am George Altman. I am a managing director at VETS Indexes. And VETS Indexes is a firm headquartered in New York City that we basically have three different major initiatives in our business. The first is in the financial sector, where we are an independent provider of ESG indexes, specifically related to companies' efforts to employ veterans. So if you are from the financial world, you were probably following that. If you're not, that might not make a lot of sense. So let me explain a little more there. ESG is investing that seeks to, in addition to generating investment returns, seeks to make some positive change in the world, either in the areas of E, the environment, S, society, or G, corporate governance. Our part of that, veteran employment, touches on both the S and the G. The good that it does for society to hire and employ veterans, and of course, the good that it does for the corporate governance of the organizations hiring the veterans to bring these highly talented but often underappreciated human resources on board and then develop them into higher ranking employees. So we create financial indexes based on that. So that's one part of our business. The second is the semi-annual Employing US VETS Conference, which is just a great exchange of ideas that we do twice a year with leaders across corporate America, government regulators, veteran service organizations, and my colleague Nick Antagi is going to talk to you all a little more about that a little later. And then finally, the third leg of our stool, as I like to think of it, is veteran employment data, where we focus on the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, what we're here to talk about today, as well as the related Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service that I'll cover in detail in just a few minutes. But now let's talk about the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. So this is just kind of a big, broad overview for everyone. I'm sure you figured this out, but kind of the basic point of the VETS Indexes Employer Awards is to evaluate organizations' efforts to employ veterans throughout the entire employment process, starting with recruiting, accepting applications, interviewing, hiring, then onboarding, retaining, developing them into higher ranking employees, and continuing to support them. I mentioned on the previous slide that one aspect of what VETS Indexes does is tied to financial indices. Of course, financial indices are only really applicable and relevant to publicly traded companies. Very important to emphasize that is something that is not a restriction with the VETS Index's employer awards. This survey and recognition program is open to employers of all types. Yes, publicly traded companies, but also privately held companies, government agencies, departments, law enforcement, nonprofit organizations, colleges, universities. Bottom line, no matter what type of organization you are, if hiring veterans is a priority for your organization, you are eligible for the VETS Index's employer awards, and they really are for you. Lastly, a quick note on how these awards were developed. They were developed with a combination really of our in-house expertise and relying on the expertise of all sorts of very helpful external voices. Myself, I've got about a decade's worth of experience surveying and polling veterans and the organizations that serve them. We have a fantastic team here at VETS, but it's also important to emphasize that outside of our walls at VETS, we sought a lot of advice and got a lot of great advice from government agencies, regulators, from veteran service organizations, and from companies employing veterans. And they gave us a very useful perspective that helped shape the survey and evaluation process, and actually continues to this day. So thank you very much for each of you who had a role helping us put this together. And let me also say your feedback and constructive advice is always welcome. We try to make this survey something that improves every single year. So if you have thoughts on something we're not really focusing on that you think maybe we should, please let me know. Survey@vetsindexes.com will get an email right to my inbox, and I'd be very happy to get your feedback. So we're here today to talk about the 2022 VETS Indexes Employer Awards. I also want to emphasize that we've done this before, and we did this last year, 2021, and we can give you a look at those results, which I'll do right now. But big picture, we awarded 80 different organizations in 2021 with 4 different award levels. Those are starting with the most prestigious, VETS Indexes 5-star employer, VETS Indexes 4-star employer, 3-star employer, and recognized employer. And here, the link will work. Here is a look at everyone who was awarded in 2021. I'll just give everyone a slow scroll through all of our awardees, starting with 5-star employers. Then our 4-star employers. Three-star employers. And finally, our VETS Indexes recognized employers. So congratulations to all of these organizations for their 2021 awards. Now let's talk a little bit about the 2022 awards. And, I'd like to start with some of the calculations that organizations have to make when deciding whether or not to participate in a survey and recognition program like this, and what the costs are, what the benefits are. So want to kind of run you through a few points that I think set us apart in the veteran employment space. You all may be aware of the fact that there are a few different veteran employment evaluation measures out there. We're not the only game in town, but we put a few markers in the sand that I think differentiate us from some of those other organizations, one of which is cost. So very important to emphasize, there is absolutely no cost to participate in the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. It is an entirely free process from start to finish. We have no fees to register to receive a survey. We have no fees to submit a survey, to have your survey evaluated, to be recognized with an award. And very importantly, we have no licensing fee if you wish to use the logo associated with the award that you earn in advertising, marketing, promotional materials. There is no cost associated with using the award. The only way you can get the award is, the only way you can get the logo is by being recognized with an award. And again, if you get the award, the logo is completely free of charge. This is something where different organizations have different policies. We think it's very important that the VETS Indexes Employer Awards logo is something that can only be earned based on what organizations are doing for veterans, not something that can ever be bought. So that's one look at cost. There are a few different ways to kind of conceive of cost, but another is man hours. And some of these surveys can be very, very long. I saw another veteran employment survey that runs 200 questions, 300 questions, just very, very lengthy. We respect your time. We understand how busy everyone's schedules are these days. And for that reason, we have cut this down to give a very good and very thorough review, but in as brief and dynamic a way as possible. So this survey is down to about 65 questions. It can be completed in just a few hours. And we've designed it to dynamically only show you the questions that are relevant to your organization and skip over the questions that aren't. So should be a much quicker and much easier process than you may have experienced with other veteran employment surveys out there. And finally, note about confidentiality. This is a fairly in-depth review of organizations, both policies and practices, as well as outcomes related to veteran employment, and it's heavily data-driven. That means we're asking for information within the survey that a lot of organizations would consider proprietary and would not want to get out into the public or for their competitors to see. We understand that completely, and for that reason, we have strict confidentiality strictures in place such that the only thing we will ever publish about your organization is, should you win an award, the award level that you receive, the name of your organization, and the logo for your organization. That is it. All other information entered in the survey will be held confidential. We have signed non-disclosure agreements to establish that fact for organizations participating in the survey. If you would like us to, we are more than happy to do so. Just send it on to me, survey@vetsindexes.com, and I'll get that right taken care of. But confidentiality should not be a concern for you as you're filling out the survey. And there's another aspect of confidentiality that I want to take just a quick second on. And in order to do that, I have to give you a little bit more information about how the awards program works. I mentioned previously our 4 different award levels we recognize organizations with, from VETS Indexes 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, and recognized employers. But there is an additional 5th category that I didn't mention, which is organizations that respond to the survey, submit a survey to be considered for an award, but ultimately do not receive an award. This is another area where the way we do things differs from the way that some other organizations in the veteran employment evaluation space do things. We think it's important that the VETS Indexes Employer Awards are reserved just for the organizations that are doing the most, that stand out apart from the rest when it comes to veteran employment issues. And that means in order to do that, we can't just give a participation trophy to every single organization that submits a survey, regardless of what the survey says. So for that reason, we think it's important that not every organization that responds makes the list, receives an award. However, that being said, we recognize that people participating in the VETS Indexes Employer Awards are a self-selecting group, And the fact that you're participating in the survey at all indicates a level of seriousness and commitment to veteran employment that a lot of other organizations don't have. So with that in mind, we absolutely don't want to punish organizations that participate in the survey. And for that reason, if you as an organization participate but are not recognized with an award, there is absolutely no information about your organization that VETS Indexes will publish, period. It will be exactly the same as if you hadn't submitted a survey whatsoever, just no mention on the website. So from that perspective, there's really nothing to lose when it comes to participating in the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. So what is there to gain? Well, first is public recognition. And I've put a few screenshots up that show some of the good coverage we've gotten recently from military.com. Sorry about that. From military.com, which ran a great story on our 2021 VETS Indexes Employer Awards recipients, as well as a recent feature on CNBC, where, as you can see here on Jim Cramer's show, he actually listed all of our 5-star recipients from 2021 and left that screen up for a really long time, giving some well-deserved publicity to our top finishers. The VETS Indexes Employer Awards give you an opportunity as an organization to get some third-party validation and recognition for your veteran employment efforts, which, then, as you can see, gets picked up by other outlets and can spread widely. Also worth focusing on these logos here at the bottom, which, again, as I mentioned before, we have no licensing fees attached to them. The only way to get one is to win the award. And once you do, it's completely free for you to use. But then you can use that logo to help in your recruiting efforts, to help in your marketing efforts, to help spread the word yourself. It's really a seal of approval that tells veterans looking for jobs, as well as others focused on veteran issues, that your organization is very serious about this. And with that, I would like to bounce things to my colleague, Nick Antaki, who is helming the Employing US Vets Conference. I mentioned previously our twice yearly conference. And Nick has a little more information about our next upcoming conference, which will be in April. And there is a very useful tie-in to the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, which Nick will detail. Please take it away, Nick.
Sure. Thank you very much, George, and glad to be here with all of you today. I noticed a few familiar names and faces in the attendee list, so great to be here with you. So for those who are not familiar with the Employing US Vets Conference, we've been hosting it twice a year since May 2019, so we're on the 6th round here. And our last one in October, virtually, we received nearly 1,000 people registered, so it was a record-breaking number of attendees. And we've attracted all kinds of top leaders in human resources, diversity and inclusion, those who are running veteran employee resource groups and the like, to come and join us. Many have spoken as panelists, keynote speakers. I see Sean Stevenson is on here currently, one of our prior keynote speakers, breakout sessions and the like. So we're really looking forward to put on a great show. We're going back in person on Thursday, April 14th, 2022, at the very historic New York Athletic Club overlooking Central Park South. We will also have a virtual component as well for those who are unable to travel. We do know that there are some issues currently with organizational travel bans and the like. So if you're not able to travel, we could have you join us virtually as well. So we are seeking sponsorships to help underwrite the cost of the event. If your organization is able to, we'd appreciate it very much. It's very helpful. We also very much welcome any suggested topics for those panels or breakout sessions, as well as any suggested speakers that may be real experts in the field and the like. So please do reach out to me, reach out to George. You can learn more about the conference at employingusvets.com. we'd be glad to have you. And just to sweeten the pot here, in line with the survey, any company or organization that submits a completed survey, regardless of whether you place or not, you'll receive a complimentary pass to join us in person at New York City. So look forward to having you, and glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nick. And as we are talking about, the VETS indexes, the Employing US VETS Conference, that is one additional initiative we have in addition to the employer awards, but brings me to another additional initiative we have. And this is something that is in some ways different from the VETS indexes employer awards, but in many ways is very much related to what we're doing there. Bottom line, with the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, in order to make these evaluations for organizations, we are taking in a great deal of information, a lot of data. And obviously we need that for evaluation purposes, but it also occurred to us that this data could very much be of use to organizations participating in the survey in allowing them to benchmark how they stack up with their peers and competitors, both in kind of a summary overview kind of way, as well as a very granular topic by topic, policy by policy, outcome by outcome manner. And so we have the data to back this, and as a result, we have put together this really cool benchmarking service. I've been in the veteran employment space for about a decade. I've never seen anything like this out there. This is really unique and offers the chance to get a lot of insight into how your program stacks up in detail. Now, I previously mentioned our confidentiality strictures. Very important to emphasize those again right here. Those absolutely apply as much to the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service as they do the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. All of the only data that you will see in the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service, the only data that you will see that's for an individual company or other organization, other employer, will be your own organization's data. You won't see or be able to otherwise figure out the individual responses of any other organization. However, what it will show you is aggregate and obviously anonymous averages or totals representing what your peers in this space are doing, which I think can be invaluable intelligence when it comes to deciding how and where to allocate the limited resources that you have for your veterans program. So I want to give you guys a quick look at some screenshots from the benchmarking service to get you a better idea of how it works. First, this is our heat map, basically functions as a table of contents. You can see on the far left, we have question numbers, which correspond with the question numbers in the survey. And then on the right, these different colored boxes that you see represent the individual metrics that we are able to provide benchmarking for. Now, I'll mention this doesn't include all the metrics, what you see here. It's a little less than half. We could only fit so many on the screen, and this is a very detailed, very exhaustive analysis. But one other note I'll make here, I really like this heat map because it gives you a quick at a glance look at exactly how you stack up across a range of different metrics. And we do that with colors. You see red, yellow, orange, green. Think of this as a traffic light. Shades of green are where you are, as an organization, leading the way and everyone else is behind you. Yellow, you're somewhat in the middle, kind of in between, maybe some need for caution. And orange and red are where your organization is lagging the field. So this, as I mentioned, heat map will give you a good view at a glance of how your organization stacks up. But I think the real value of the benchmarking is when we take one step beyond that and really dive into the details of questions. So this next slide that I've pulled up for everyone gives you an idea how that works. Let me just mention at the outset, all the numbers that you're seeing are based on sample data. This doesn't reflect any organization's actual responses, nor does it reflect the actual averages. But of course, our real benchmarking data will when we're providing that service to your organization, should you opt to go that route. But let me start with a quick explanation of what you're seeing here, what the colors mean. So the red circles would indicate your organization's response. The light blue diamonds, the peer group average, the darker blue squares, the overall average. And this question, as you can see, looks at the proportion of various military connected groups among organizations' new hires. So I think this illustrates you can get some good comparative data with the top line number that most folks are focused on, veterans. But we can also get a lot more granular. So if your organization has an emphasis on hiring disabled veterans, or perhaps members of the Guard or Reserve or military spouses, you can get advanced, very granular benchmarking showing how your new hire percentages, in this case, stack up against your peers and against all of your competitors. Below that is another really great example focused on internal promotions, which is a very important metric for veteran employee development as well. And these are just a couple of the questions represented in the survey. This benchmarking service covers nearly every question in the survey. So should be, if you see a question in the survey, you're pretty safe in assuming that it's covered in the benchmarking service. So there's a lot of great information here. But important to emphasize that the benchmarking service is based entirely in the survey. It works by comparing survey responses. So in order to take advantage of that benchmarking service, you have to have participated in the VETS Index's employee awards. So with that, let's circle back to the awards and talk about how to get your response started. I'll give everyone some advice, and then we will jump over to questions in not just a few more minutes. So my first request for everyone on today's webinar is please, sometime today, if you haven't already, please find and click the unique link that you should have received in an email from survey@vetsindexes.com. If you saw the email that promoted this webinar, for instance, the unique link is included in that email. If for whatever reason you're having trouble finding it, let me know. Just send me an email, survey@vetsindexes.com, and I will get that link right out to you. But I strongly suggest that you try to click into that link today, just to make sure you have everything you need to get your response started. Now, with that said, there's a couple other very important documents that I want to direct you all to. First is this blank survey PDF, which we have on our website at this URL. I will click it so you all can see what that looks like. Here's the page, and if you scroll down, you will see this document. Just click on it, and that will download a blank copy of the survey that includes all of the questions and answer options throughout the survey, so it can make things a lot easier. I also recommend taking a look at our frequently asked questions page, which I've just pulled up here. This goes into exhaustive detail about our awards, should answer almost any question you may have on how the process works from start to finish. You see all the various sections we have here, so a wealth of information for you all there as well. And of course, always have to emphasize the deadline. The deadline to get your survey responses in is January 31st, 2022. Okay, so a quick look at what to expect when you are filling out the survey. There are essentially 5 different main sections in the survey that we have and focus on. And you can see what each of those are listed here. There are also a few introductory and conclusion sections that I'm not going to mention here, but the main focus really is in these five. And within each of those sections, there are several different question types. Worth emphasizing here that some question types are more prevalent than the others, and it's really listed kind of in order of prevalence, with data questions absolutely being the majority focus of the survey. We think it's important to us that the employer awards are a good, meaningful, apples to apples comparison of organizations' veteran programs. And we feel that you can do those sorts of, accurate, meaningful comparisons a lot better if you're doing them based on hard data than if you're doing them based on everybody writing a paragraph about how much they like veterans. So for that reason, this is a very data-focused survey. We also have, several multiple choice questions, drop-down questions, selected rank questions as well. But certainly the bread and butter of our survey is in data. And with that, I want to give you all some data on our methodology, which you can see on our website at this URL here. I will click it to give you all a look at it. Very much encourage you to visit this page on your own time and take kind of a more in-depth look than I'm able to give on this webinar. But you see the same 5 categories that I had on that last slide. You'll see listed here alongside the amount of weight that each category has in the survey. So veteran, as you can see, veteran employee development and retention is the most heavily weighted part of our evaluation at 26.5%, followed by veteran recruiting and hiring at 21.8%, veteran inclusive policies and culture, 20.6%. And then the final 2 categories focus on particular subgroups within the military connected community, Guard and Reserve members at 20% of the evaluation, and military spouse and family at 11.2%. So definitely have a look at that. We think it's very important that we are transparent in our evaluation process. And this will give you, I think, a much better idea of how we're doing this. So I would like to take just a minute or two telling you guys about what is new in this year's survey as compared with last year's survey. And the first answer to that question is not all that much. It's largely unchanged, largely identical. We did add one completely new question, that's Q 4.10, and that is focused on employee compensation. That was actually added thanks to the advice and consultation we got from one of our partners in the federal government who looked at last year's survey and suggested a question on compensation. So, very grateful for that advice. We also have one question that we made large revisions to. That's question 2.8. That's the one that focuses on industry classification. There were a few challenges with last year's format, so we changed that a little bit, should make things easier for everyone. In addition, while we didn't change what a lot of the questions were asking, we did for several questions go in and expand the explanations that we gave, as well as including some links to outside sources that have a little more information about the topic that we're asking about. So that should make things easier. In addition, we added some instant alerts that look at all of the answers that respondents enter into the survey and then compare them to other answers to make sure everything makes sense. So let me give you an example of what I mean there. Question 3.3 asks for data on your employee population. And, part of that question asks for your total number of employees. Part of that question asks for your number of veteran employees. So let's say that your organization told us in that question that you have 100 total employees. And then you told us of those 100 total employees, your number of veteran employees is 120. So that's mathematically impossible. You can't have more veteran employees than you do total employees. And we have built-in alerts that look for those types of issues. And if it finds them, gives you an immediate error message and explains how to solve the problem. Should make things easier. as should the last item here, which is we are able to carry over all of the data questions that you answered last year into this year's response so that you don't have to re-enter them. Now, the unique link that you have may include those answers or it may not. If your organization participated in last year's survey and you're not seeing last year's answers, let me know, and I will get you a copy of the survey that does include last year's answers, but I should make it much easier to fill out. So I want to give you all some tips and shortcuts for how to fill out the survey for, essentially what I would do if I were filling out the survey for my organization. And to start with, you guys may remember seeing that blank PDF download page I took you to. I strongly recommend taking a good look at that PDF and actually using it to gather your answers before you try to fill out the survey online. It can make the process of filling out the survey online a lot easier. That being said, we did take a number of steps to make it easier in different ways to fill out the survey online. Namely, you don't have to get it all done in one sitting. Your answers will save automatically. Basically, every time you advance from one survey page to another, all of the information you entered is automatically saved. So once you advance the page, your answers are all saved. You can close your browser window and come back to the survey the next day, the next week, the next month even, and pick up exactly where you left off. A note on your unique links. Your unique links are what make all of this possible, saving the answers, carrying over last year's answers. If you have multiple people in your organization who are filling out the survey, then you absolutely can share it within your organization so different people can fill out different parts of it. But do not send your unique link to any outside organizations. You want to keep that just internal. And again, as I mentioned previously, you don't have to enter the same data twice. If you gave us responses to data questions last year, we can carry over that response, those responses for this year. And if you're having trouble finding those, just email me, survey@vetsindexes.com, and I'll get you set up. And this is the last slide before I jump into questions. So I'll just say right now, if any of you have questions you'd like me to answer, please type them into chat. I've already seen a few come through chat. So thank you for each of you who entered questions already. And if you have any, please enter them right now and I will answer them in just a moment. But first, a few tips on what you can do to improve your reward level and really maximize your standing in the VETS Indexes employer rewards. So first, please provide as much information as you can. We are really only able to evaluate organizations' veterans programs based on the information they provide. And if you don't tell us enough about your veterans program, we really can't give you the credit that you deserve. So answer every single question that you can. And if confidentiality is at all a concern, send us an NDA and we're happy to sign it. Now, that being said, even as you're trying to answer every question that you can, it's fairly likely that we are going to ask for some data that you don't have because your organization doesn't track it. So a few notes about that. First, don't worry too much. Don't sweat it if that is the case. No organization is able to answer all of the questions in our survey. And that's partly by design. We put this survey together to be groundbreaking, to break new ground in the data collected in the veteran employment space, to give new insights that weren't possible before. And part of that involves asking for data that organizations may not collect. So you'll be in good company if you can't answer everything. But my advice would be, as you encounter questions that you can't answer because you don't track the data, see what you can do to implement systems that will track the data so that when you're filling out the following year's survey, you will be able to answer that question. Next, very important that you answer all parts of the questions that you see in the survey, not just some parts of the questions. there are a lot of multi-part questions here, and for most of those questions, if you answer one part but not the other, that missing information can make it impossible for us to at all evaluate or compare your answer. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't accidentally skip over part of a question. And, in line with that, carefully follow the instructions and the structure of the survey as well. Now, one note about submitting the survey, once you answer all the questions and you get to the last page of the survey online, that will show you a readback of all of the answers that you submitted, all on one page. So it's a very long web page. You'll want to scroll through it very carefully. You're going to want to look at every single response that you give and make sure that everything is as accurate as possible and everything is as complete as possible. Once you hit the right arrow button to advance on that last page that shows all your answers, you're officially submitting your survey response, after which it's in the books and you can't just go back in and edit it as before. So you want to be careful when submitting. And lastly, probably my most important piece of advice, if there's anything that you're not sure about how to answer, how it applies to your organization, what makes sense, just ask us. If you need help, please ask. Survey@vetsindexes.com goes straight to my email inbox, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm always happy to help. And with that, I will start taking questions. I see we have several in chat, so I'm going to get to those directly. If you have any to add in, please do. And you see below the information for Employing US Vets Conference, please visit our website to learn more information about that conference as well. So let me start going through our questions. There's a thank you first from Mr. Perez. Thank you so much, Mr. Perez. I appreciate that. A question asking if the slides and recording will be made available to participants after the session. Yes, indeed, they will. It's probably going to take us a few days to get them up online, but I'm imagining probably by early next week, we should have that up and available. And you know what? Let me show you exactly where you will find that. So I'm on our website. I'll go to the front page of our website, vetsindexes.com, and you see our top menu here. If you go to news/media and then click media, this is our first webinar, and we will post a follow-up with this webinar in this same space. So just look right here for the webinar and you will see it, and we'll be able to share with your colleagues as well. All right. Moving on, I see we have a speaker suggestion. Really appreciate that. And we will take that under consideration. So thank you very much for that suggestion for a speaker for our Employing US Vets Conference. The next question I see is from Sarah asking, sorry if I missed this, is there a cost associated to the benchmarking service? That is a great question. And so the answer is yes, but it depends on what level. So we have basically 3 different tiers to our benchmarking service: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1, our basic tier, the cost is $0. Every organization that responds to the Vets Indexes Employer Awards survey can get that tier 1 review at absolutely no cost, just as our kind of, thank you for participating. With that review, we offer a summary level information as well as granular information for a few of our metrics. Our tier 2 goes into a lot more depth, includes about half of the total metrics, and our tier 3 benchmarking covers everything. All right, and if you'd like more information on benchmarking service, we have that on our website, which I will show you guys here. Just click benchmarking service, and lots of data there. So very much encourage you to check that out. Okay. Right. I see not a question, but a thank you for not making the VETS Indexes Employer Awards a pay-to-play program. Amen. I frankly think it's disappointing or maybe even shameful to run a veteran program as a pay-to-play operation. I don't think that's the right way to do things, and that's not the way we do things at VETS Indexes. But very much appreciate your focus on that. Mention of helmets to hard hats. That is a great program that I'm familiar with involving getting veterans into the construction business. Our kind of big picture goal at VETS Indexes is to bend the overall employment market to something that is more understanding of, more receptive to, and just overall better to veterans. And helmets to hard hats is a big important part of that process, focused obviously on the construction industry. All right, and I see one last question. I will answer that, and if no other questions come in, we'll end the webinar a few minutes early. If you have any other questions, please do put them in chat now, or please just email me again at survey@vetsindexes.com if you have something that's a little more in depth or something you'd like to discuss, not in the public form of webinar. Happy to answer that. But the last question I'm seeing, some companies have great veteran focused programs, but no spouse program. Seems the two are now tied together. How can a company ever be ranked if they do not run a spouse program? So I think probably the best answer to that is to bounce back to our methodology. So let me do that, and give me just 1 second to find the right page. There it is. Okay, so I wanted to pull this methodology up just to give you one more look at how we do these awards. This is based on our rubric. This is coming, directly from the tools that we use to make the evaluation calculations. But you can see here that our focus on military, spouse, and families, we absolutely think it's something that is important and worth focusing on in the military connected employment picture, because military spouses face their own unique, very challenging circumstances with employment. So important, we think it's covered, but we also view it as one discrete particular component of a larger picture. So bottom line, in our evaluation, military, spouse, and family matters account for 11% of the evaluation. Another way to look at that is 89% of the evaluation is not related at all to military spouse programs. So if your organization doesn't really have a focus on military spouses, but is more focused on veterans, I would not view that as a big obstacle to you receiving recognition from the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, because again, the majority of our focus is in other areas, as you can see here in our methodology. But if you'd like to talk about this in some more depth, please shoot me an email, and I'm happy to figure out a time to get on a Zoom or just a phone call and answer those questions. So with that, I am not seeing any additional questions, and we'll wrap things up. Very much appreciate all of you joining us today. As additional questions come up, please email me, survey@vetsindexes.com at any time. I hope you all are able to participate, but thank you very much. Happy holidays, and take care.